Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. We are so glad that you are here.
And that
The
is
team
the
is here.
change.
I was corner man.
Ile yiwo kamele
Well,
ukuthi
the
hayi
team,
bazalwane siyabona ukuthi libuye lavuka labuya futhi na le-church this Saturday.
well, guys,
Hawe.
there's the
Ndisicela
first time
uRay
for
avule
it.
ngomthandazo.
There's a first time for everything, but hey, I mean, I had to do it. Welcome to Caffeinated Sag. Welcome to
Sag.
Swish. Swish is
Yes,
here.
sis.
Sag. Ooh,
Brother, just
Sag.
sag.
Hey.
Kungathiwa sag ngani into elengayo.
Hayi vele.
Lizothula kumbe lithini, but anyways, okay.
Qhubeka.
Caffeinated. Welcome.
Ufuna sizi-introduce.
Welcome to Swish. Oh yeah, Swish. It's been a while since he's been here. Ray, and
Hello, hi.
Kingus. We are missing O and 3 today, but yeah,
Shout
welcome,
out.
guys.
Shout out to
Miss you.
Wherever you
bro.
are. Oh, wow.
Let's have some bit of decorum, please.
And action.
Everything you hear on this podcast is just our opinions and kitchen table talk that might just get a little too loose. We're not professionals, so nothing we say should be taken as medical, legal, financial, psychological, or even romantic advice. You entered Mjolo by yourself. We're not exempt from correction, but nothing we say should be mistaken for facts. However, if at any time our conversation resembles reality, understand that it's just a coincidence unless we say otherwise. We're not in the business of exposing, revealing, or indicting anybody. And remember, guys, all countries have their own rules, regulations, and policies, so if you find yourself needing professional help, please check out your local listings. Basically, if any of our episode even triggers you in any way, form, or shape, don't call a lawyer, call a psychologist. Now, with that said, Bafetsu, let's have some decorum.
But anyways, how was your week?
I've been going through it this whole entire week. I'm still going through it. I've got my drink right next to me, but I'm still gonna
Nakia.
save it for Patreon, maybe. But yeah, I've been laughing. But don't worry, I don't look like my problems right now. So
Her.
Do you need 3,000 prayers and thoughts?
Yeah. I need 1,000 prayers and thoughts each, please, because
Yar. Kuning.
Wow. Good name. You don't know what you departure when you arrive. But anyways, Ray, how's your week been?
Oh my god, my week was so busy. And on top of that, I had a flu katinjani ngiphose ngafa guys. Yazi vele yabe ngikhayizoda amakhabishi kodwa
Yoni khabichi mfeni mnandi, guys. Angifuni ukungatsho, but asikho lapho. Swish, my brother.
No. My week was busy. Well, I know for a fact it was busy than race. There was no coughing involved. But anyway,
excuse me? How do you know yours was busier than mine? What the hell?
You're not busy enough, Ray.
I tried to digest where I called.
Yeah, the problem is that you're sober. That's the first problem that we have today. But anyway, it's okay.
Nakia.
I'm provoked.
And over to you,
That's one.
Caffeinated. How was your week?
My week has been chilled. I've been wishing more than Kingus. Still keeping it, moving
Period.
like a G, period.
Period, girl.
Wabe ngithelele iflu yakhe. I don't know ukwenzakalani la. It's just a passion. Yenzani.
Our shout out of the week goes to Leo Kuda, I think it's Kuda Power, and Chris Benyati on TikTok, who have gone the extra mile to support the podcast. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank
And next week, I think
No, we really do. They've been really
we've-
showing so
we've
much
been
love.
giving-
Oh my
They
God.
really
We've been having a
have.
lot of people show us love, though. Let's be honest. We've had
That's
like
true.
a whole bunch of people show us love, and we so much appreciate it. Really do.
We do. Thank you.
Shout out to everybody.
We're truly grateful.
Right. Okay, so we're going to talk bath routines real quick, right? And I've just got, I suppose my question to you guys is, Wuti, what's your preference, bath or shower? Like, are you a tub person? Gonna get into the water, soak yourself in, put my bath salts, what? Or even
Can I
like
just say
a
this?
general.
I will take shower. I have no interest in marinating in my own
Thank
filth.
you.
I'm sorry.
There
Shower.
we go. Nakia, uyakhanya ukuthi wena awukhulanga ugeza ebhavini wena awusomntwana webhavu.
Hayi,
Abagezisanga edishini wena.
Abagezanga edishini wena.
Ngihlezi
Wena ugeza,
phakathi.
yathi uRachel wayegeza njani?
Ibhakede.
Eceleni kwebhakede bemthela.
Nginegabha leyo gazi.
Bescooper bemthela. So this question is telling of your origins. Sifuna ukubona abakhulele phansi kwekhango.
Mani, if I'm going to do the soaking, I'm going to have to shower first. There's no way ngizaphola ngingene ngingcole from phandle. And then now there's my backside and my face and my in the same water. I don't want to do do
But
that.
that's
So
the
what you
only
develop
way
when-
to take a bath, really. Like you shouldn't just be going outside into a bath. Like I'm a bath girl. Like I love a bath.
I
Like,
bet you there's people who do that though.
they are, but they're doing it wrong.
So kusho ukuthi lina vele likaze labo cousin benu belifake endishini or etapini libe ngo-6.
That was just
vele.
you, dog. That was
But you know,
God, that's not a thing.
I'd have to agree with
Okay.
Caffeinated. I mean, sikhule sonke abazukulu lihamba lohlangana endlini kagogo lonke liyageziswa ngugogo one by one.
One by, yeah.
One
Nah.
by
From
one.
the youngest
Liyaqala-
to the
kahle
oldest.
liqala ngespade lonke ugogo yalifaka
Thank you. I was
espeyidini
about to
lonke.
say that virtually.
Alipeyide.
Exactly.
Angaqeda ukulipeyida seligeza lonke.
Saka a green bar.
Seligoxozwa.
Anyways, back to the gathering, guys.
Yeah.
Mina, I won't even lie to you. Mina, I grew up a bath girly. I remember the days when I was from the Kango bavu to the green, blue bavu that everyone had at their houses to transitioning to a tub and whatnot. And I kid you not, I discovered a shower. Discovered bakavetwas. I discovered a shower when I
Okay,
was
Christopher
like
Columbus.
in my early 20s. That's when I was first properly introduced to a shower, right? I got into a shower for the first time, but it did have a happy ending. Relax. Not in the way that you're thinking. Yalazi phela lina. Relax. Relax.
Ayibo,
Get one of those.
uzema
It was the
I'm trying to get one of those.
Decorum. It was the most refreshing bath I've ever taken. It was the quickest bath I had ever taken, the most efficient, and the most clean I've ever felt after taking a bath. I don't know. I think it's just that thing, you just stand under a shower. When you scrub yourself, then gonke just washes away. Ufile lokuthi izono zakho zonke naziya down the drain. All gone. Like I really felt, super clean, super refreshed. Since that day, I've never looked back. Like shower is preference. Since sitting in tabina, I get that EU feeling like Ure was saying, now you're soaking in your own dirt and whatnot. So yeah, that's me. That's my preference. I'm like a shower girl. Won't give a shower and whatnot.
My question then goes to, like, I mean, let's say you've taken your first morning bath and you spend the entire day at home, and then now you want to take that night bath. Then do you then still go for a shower or a bubble bath with like some candles, scented candles?
Fell in love with baths because they were literally part of my Sunday ritual. I'd wake up and
Exactly.
I would do usually be like maybe some light cleaning with my mom. This is like when I was a teen, right? So we'd do like some light cleaning, then we'd do maybe brunch, and then that's when I would then do like my prep for work, get all my stuff ready, change my bedding, everything like that. And then you turn on the candle. The only thing you could do after that just made sense was to sit in the bath, and then I'd put on like my favorite show. At the time it was Suits. I'd put on a little bit of Jessica Pearson. I'd sit there in the bath for like 45 minutes until I turned into a prune. And it was the best thing ever. Like that was my favorite thing about Sundays. Now I don't have a bath in my house because apparently, like in the Netherlands, getting a bath is like finding a unicorn or like the end of a rainbow because you have to put a bath in by yourself. So all houses are only mainly showers unless you've like modified and renovated and put in your own bathtub. Angazi ukuthi bazondelana ama-bath, but I no longer have one, and that's my favorite part about going home now is I get to sit in the bath in my mother's house. A bath is life. I'm sorry.
It's
not plum, but yeah, there you go. That's my favorite thing. I love a bath. I don't like
I
sharing
can't stand a
with somebody,
bath anymore. Like I really cannot stand it. And I try it, like where I, set the mood, try and make it sexy. A glass of wine, lapa. I kid you not. I'll jump in for like 5 minutes and I'm like, anyways, that was nice. So and I'm out.
Oh,
I just feel like I'm like, what is this? I literally sit there and ask myself, like, what are you doing?
I want to turn into a stew in the bath. Like, I just want to sit in it for ages.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, that sounded wrong.
It
Sorry.
did, because I'm like, wow.
I just heard how that came out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh my God. I'm just gonna mute myself. My bad. Sorry.
She wants to sit on it. Okay, so we've all seen this. Well, I don't want to say trending, but there's this post on Earground TV, where there's, it's a recording, obviously, of this meeting of ama residents of a particular low density suburb in Harare. So the caption reads, residents of Harare's northern suburbs are protesting against noise pollution and the rapid increase of bars, brothels, churches, concerts, and informal traders in their neighborhood. Now, we've seen the clip, right? And obviously interesting dynamics there. We've seen abantu bankhona abakhomentayo, abakhulumayo, aba-address the crowd. Biggest grievance there is what low density area should remain as such. Bayakhala makhiwa, guys. Ayakhala makhiwa athi lina selisuke emalocation enu le emakasi selizogcwala ngapha kuma-areas abo. Because that's what it sounded like to me. It sounded like they're saying ukuthi selizogcwala ema-arean abo. And you guys are bringing in your chaos. Libya Lapana, I like decorum, Ziakala. What's your take, guys?
I don't want to sound like I'm on the wrong side of this, guys. But
if
you've been to that area, guys, you would know what they are saying is actually quite valid.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to me like it's a specific demographic that's complaining about this. So for me, then now I'm like, I don't really understand what the
exactly.
No, you know what I mean? Because it's like,
no, you're right, and that's what I'm hearing and seeing as well.
Right, and so if we name it what it is, it seems like there's this thing. Because then, if it's not just brothels, I would understand if it was a type of establishment.
It's a racial issue. Let's just call it what it is.
Exactly, churches. What did they say? Brothels, bars, etc. I mean, okay, then what if we just label it as maybe we're just a loud bunch? We're Africans. It is a thing. And I'm sorry, but if they don't like that is willing, Gitan.
But the question, but then the question comes down to when would you be comfortable with you trying to get some sleep? You've got an early morning tomorrow. It's a Sunday night for crying out, and there is loud music playing. There are drunk people being rowdy. Okay, let's put aside drunk people. There is a group of people, they are hitting drums in the middle of the night. Wouldn't that annoy you as a resident?
Yeah, that would annoy me.
Well, then maybe you should move to a different area, Virtuous.
Your home should be a place of peace and quiet.
I have a home in this place. I've been here for years. Now I have to move because somebody just opened their church next door. No.
So what are you saying? That the cities, the suburbs and whatnot shouldn't progress? Like there shouldn't be any progression in those neighborhoods? There shouldn't be introduction,
progression,
bars and
progressing the right,
yada yada yada.
I think that's a whole different issue, because the thing that they've complained about here is that maybe if the churches are running late, I understand that. If the bars are open super late on a Sunday, I understand that. Then I think the question there is like, why do you not make an appeal to the municipality to change the time so that it's not at times that are antisocial, right? But also there's then the issue of like, why is it it's only one demographic of people complaining? Because there's also a cross-cultural aspect that we can't ignore. Like if it was a bunch of black, like I don't know, maybe I may not mind as much because I also recognize my noise tolerance for Africans is a lot higher, I'm not going to lie, than maybe somebody else, because I'm like, we're just loud.
But anyways, let's come together to support baby Bauma's journey as she bravely battles leukemia. So kukhanya ngathi umamakhe wachayelwa 150,000 rands. Now the uproar is imali le was meant to pay her hospital bills, but kukhanya ngathi kubhadalwe only 9,000 rands. What happened to the other money? So my question then would be like, now donate to GoFundMe. Would you still want to go back here with imali yakhe yenze?
I don't know how to explain this. I don't think the donors have a right to know every intricate part of the treatment that this child has been having to quantify their donations. I think by virtue of being a donor, you give something and you give what you can part with, generally advisable. You give what you can part with, and I think we then trust the fact that the parents know where the money should be spent, right? Because I said when I heard about this, I feel like it's not to me, it's not morally right. So as donors, then we kind of take this high ground, or you must now be accountable for us and give us a receipt for everything you spent, and that all this money needs to go to the hospital, because there's also other incidental costs. I imagine since her parents are caring for her, there's going to be a shortfall in the house. Maybe they now need to buy groceries as well because they might not be working, or they maybe need to pay the electric bill, right? There's going to be other things that are going to take a back burner because they're caring for and treating their child. So there are incidental costs. Maybe they didn't pay for the actual chemo, appointment at the hospital or consultation or whatever it is, but some of that money might have gone to the electric company because they need to pay, right, to keep. So I don't know if it's fair.
I think, Kingus, I think it depends. I think it depends on how the GoFund was worded, right? So if you word the fundraiser and detail exactly what the amount is going to be spent on, or what is going to be spent on, if you itemize. So, as I was saying before I was really interrupted, if you itemized the cost on your blurb, on that GoFundMe thing, if you itemize the cost to imali le my figure look, I think you have to be accountable and you have a responsibility to the public, because ultimately, this is public funds, so you can't take them uhambe uyoyenza things that are outside the scope of what you said you're going to do with that money. But if the fundraising blurb or story was a bit more generalized, or the money that is raised through this fundraiser is going to go towards the treatment and care of, said person, then there's a bit more flexibility, and then it allows them also not to come back and start accounting for every single cent, because you did generalize it's going to be used towards treatment and care. Care can be anything. It can be umntwana uvuke efuna isweets, gala toothpaste, if family needed, funds, or would be guided from point A to B. All of that, would come under care. Then in that case, I think donors, or me as a donor, would know my money is going towards this. So I'm not expecting an itemized cost. So I don't know which the initial fundraiser, but and then also depending on the country where they are, there's rules and laws that govern how donations and fundraisings are declared and how they are spent and how they are accounted for, etc. Thina ngapha kithi island, it's quite strict. Angazi kwezinye indawo ukuthi kusebenza njani. But ngiyacabanga ukuthi if there was no accountability, or umuntu doesn't have to come back and declare ukuthi lapha siyenze sathi, phela sonke uchithi lapha sonke phela sangavula ama fundraiser, lami kusasa ngisangavuka ngigula cancer phela ngivula i-fundraiser ngithi abantu ngicela lingincedise towards the treatment, and not have to be accountable for it. So I think there has to be some kind of mechanisms there for the purposes of that.
Maybe mechanisms should be, I think, with actually GoFundMe themselves, right?
In this case, I actually would be curious to know what was the actual wording, because this is like a real live situation, right? So there actually was it's
exactly. I'm curious about the wording.
Yeah, because
so I just came upon a poster that says Baby Thomas Facebook star party. To answer your question, just before you go further, maybe it will put some perspective on what it says. It says, shower Baby Thoma with love and stars to pay the 400,000 hospital bill as she battles leukemia. Then it goes, agenda, your love, prayers, and stars will bring joy and strength to her family. How to participate during this event and invite friends, send stars to Baby Thoma's Facebook page during the party, words of encouragement, prayers, or favorite inspirational quotes.
So I'm just curious, right? This is obviously something enkulu and ngumntwana. So lichuthi South Africa, angazi umbani affect check ukuthi South Africa I provide medical care for minors with a condition that's serious?
Umuntu lo guys,
Remember,
Maninga, I
umuntu
found a
lo
post
is
that
Zimbabwe,
they were in Zimbabwe, right?
Okay.
And then nothing much was being done in Zim because you know how the state here healthcare is. Then they had to travel to South Africa for my test and stuff. But then they found that they had leukemia. So that is when like my bank account were even sent. Now people start even donating to
now
the
it's
bank.
starting to make sense. Okay.
So it
now,
wasn't just
because
obviously
they wouldn't have had a medical cover because pre-existing conditions, and then maybe say South Africa, they are not entitled to that free medical healthcare. So
also just to put it across,
because the wording is quite broad. Like the wording does not itemize costs. It doesn't state what is going to be used. The money is going to be used exclusively for medical care. Because phela lapha hlala khona umntwana lo mzali or whoever is caring for her, rent needs to be paid. They need to eat.
Exactly.
You know, there's all these things that are part of the
there's
care.
another thing. I'm so sorry. There's another thing. When they made this post, people can send the money directly to the hospital. So some people are under the impression that they're paying isibhedlela directly. But now to find out which and then now only 9,000 is
also
being paid.
no,
So it was
but
quite
also
frustrating for the people
to add on to what Ray is saying. Also, I've just come across another poster. Le ilama banking details.
That's the one that I'm looking at. Yeah.
Ilama banking details angu 3. Ile bank Sasfin, ile e-wallet, ile eco-cash. Imali lei ayibuyanga yonke, ayibuyanga 140 injalo. So ibuye ingamaqamu, which then also like I would have to agree with what Caffeinated said. Which
also, there was multiple streams of imali.
Exactly. So
okay,
got it. In one go.
Got it. Okay, so imali final figure leyo khulunywa ngayo, it's accumulated through different donation streams, like through different collection streams, not only from the GoFund.
There we go.
All right.
But very all right.
So now,
back to the original question. Manje inkinga.
Inkinga ukuthi bafuna ukwazi ukuthi imali le iye ngaphi, because only 9,000 has been paid to esibhedlela. So what happened to the other 131,000?
So Mama Katema uphenduke wazocela enye imali yini? What triggered the question? What I want to know is what triggered the question of ukuthi imali yaya.
Feedback, how is she doing?
What's happening to the money?
I want to know what Swish thinks.
Lami mfungu bakwazi. Iya phila imali le.
Wafaka malini wena Swish?
Hayi mfuna ukuba kwazi.
I think people are focusing on the wrong question here.
What you're thinking about that, I agree. I feel like Uti people are getting onto this thing of panning over because they're kind of seeing Uti, oh, this is a lot of money, and they made their own calculations. But I'm sorry, in the overarching thing for me in all of this, very few things and just general key principles. You gave the money is no longer yours. Yes, I understand you gave it under generosity or Guti, hey, you're trying to help out this child. So I think if people are concerned, they should be asking from the perspective of caring about the child's health and not just the money, because it comes across as disingenuous. But where did you spend the money? It's not really because you all feel like this lady isn't actually doing what she should be doing for her child. It's because you feel like you've been cheated out of something, which doesn't feel completely like this question is not in good faith to me. And then as an additional part, at some point, we also have to recognize, in order for this lady to come here on the internet and start putting receipts and the entire treatment plan for her child, then now she's also taking away the dignity from this person's treatment. Like, do we really need to know how many appointments did this baby go through and how much each appointment was and how much each what was? Because let's face it, abanye abantu, and you know what? All generosity is generosity. So I'm not saying this in the sense of people have the right to be upset about their money, but abanye abantu, they donated maybe $1 or $2. That's what they could afford, which is still really, really kind. Some people maybe donated hundreds, which again also still kind. So now say ukuthi umuntu donate also $1 or $2 like so kumele ukuthi now sithathele umntwana lo dignity in her treatment ukuthi sonke sibona ukuthi wahamba nge-appointment mhla ka-13 February ukuthi appointment
bruh, that's off like vela uyenzi vele
abantu abanjani what kind of people are we?
Yes, vele that's off.
Do you see what I mean? Now, what kind of people are we?
That's off.
If you all had if you all had conditions under which you were donating, then you should have made that clear to this lady so that she knows
exactly.
$2 engunika yona. Mina ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi umntwana utholelwa ama-bandage kumbe uthengelwe lokhu zenini kumbe what. But you didn't let that lady also participate. And this is just feels a little bit too predatory for me. And I don't like it. I don't like none of it.
Same. Mina agree with everything what King has said. I can't echo it. I'm going to be heavy, but I agree with everything she said. There's an article that I saw, or rather it was a report that I saw, and we've all seen this earlier on in the week. This company that is or has now confirmed they've completed a trial stage for a vaccine or some kind of treatment that prevents people from contracting the HIV virus, right? So yeah, I'm like, okay, this is great, great progress being made in the medical field. Obviously, they've been working on this for years. The EU, the European Union, has approved this medication. And it's said or thought to prevent HIV. Now, obviously, we know our communities, and we're going to speak obviously based on our communities because that's who we know better. This thing, yeah? Like, what's your thoughts? What's your take on this? Is the virus something that was helping to keep people tame? Is it something that was helping to control abantu not to be too reckless with whether it's their sexual activities or not to be too adventurous, too spontaneous, yada, yada, yada. Now that this thing, abantu kade beyesaba, or was the barrier to them, expressing their, angwazi, manini ngithula isikhiwa. Anyways, libona njani lina? And also, would you take the shot? Lingayoyihlaba na? Ngifuna lo, okay, sengakangeke ezama-thoughts enu mphendula nini yes or no, so that singalijaji kakhulu. And don't explain yourself. Would you get the shot? Kinges?
Yes.
Ray?
100% yes.
Swish?
Ukuvumelana lo Ray, but yes.
Lo kahlabanga le COVID kahlabanga. Virtuous.
Well, to be honest with this one, I'm on the fence.
Hey, Baba, hey, say yes or no.
You can't on the fence with the jab. It's either you're gonna do it or you're not gonna do it.
Say yes or no.
No,
I want to
leave.
You want to die. Answer the question.
The reason why I'm saying I'm on the fence, it's because, guys, see it to say during
it's without explaining why.
We didn't say explain. It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
He's the one who invented the yes or no.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right.
God.
Thank you. Finish and clap. I mean, I think it's an important preventative measure, especially we know what is Ling's name, guys, and you can never be 100% or your partner 100%. Siyalazi naliyabulala ngama-trust issues vele, and abanye benu vele siyalazi bo virtuously reckless. But anyways, bengisithi mina. What are your thoughts on it?
I personally would do it simply because I think Uguti, it's better safe than sorry. I think there's a little bit of that thing there are also so many ways to contract something, especially something like HIV. I'll give you like a real life example of something that I actually witnessed, and that is where my initial hesitation first came from, of like doing something because of the fear of like something like this. There was this one time I was driving with my cousin through Blawayo, right? And we parked somewhere, and then we get out of the car and we're going into a shop. We have one actually like Blawayo is like a grid system. We're right by the intersection, and then there was a pickup truck coming around the corner. The guy was going really, really fast, but there was a lady who was walking halfway into the street. Mezamantu like shouting, like, trying to warn her to like get out of the road. But in the midst of that, she kind of panicked the driver didn't slow down fast enough. And in her panic, she got hit by this car. And then she rolled on top of the thing and went back down. Wazama ukuthi esukume, but her leg had actually been broken, like her femur was broken. So it was bent. You could see her trying to stand up on the other leg. So people are like, no, stay down. We had like a first aid emergency kit thing in the car. So the car had like this built-in emergency thingy. And I remember thinking, like, the first thing is obviously to jump in and help. But then the other thought is the fact that like she was bleeding everywhere. And then there's the thing of like, we don't have enough PPE to stop yourself from being able to like touch the blood. And I remember thinking in that case of being like, oh, this is kind of crazy, because in situations like that, if you had a vaccine like this or a shot like that and you're not worried about contracting, can you imagine how many more instances where people are not going to be apprehensive about helping? I mean, we did like help her out because, you know, what are you going to do? But then there's that kind of thought of being like, yo, like you could end up touching someone's blood by accident. She happened to have like a malofusenin in the car, but they're not part of the first aid kit. But I remember thinking, I was like, no, like we actually need to have gloves. And she's like, no, there are gloves in the car. Because I don't know. But if it was something like that, you may not be so concerned. I mean, I know there are other bloodborne diseases, so please don't come at me. But like, anyway, that's my thoughts. That's what I think about this in its entirety.
Solid, yeah. Why would you take it, Swish? Like, what would be the motivator for you?
Yeah, well, like based on King's example, yeah, because there's high chances that you can be infected. Like obviously this whole blood thing, you know, it's not like you'll see it coming accidentally. So like I'm saying, by any chance you come into contact with such, you know, just what's your reaction? Like honestly speaking, I think your reaction, Yako, if you know you are on the safe side, would be different. Unlike if you know Tivele, you didn't do anything to like try avoid like wongama infections. You know what I mean? Yeah, something like that.
That being said, right, we all know with every drug comes side effects, right? Everything has side effects. And obviously this is a very new drug. They've probably been working on it for a very long time. But I'm just thinking of this in the same way we would think about the likes of Amasemalgatudes, you know, your Ozempics, your Monjaras, etc., etc. You know, they have side effects. And I was reading up on this particular injection. I didn't get much information to bring to the discussion today around the side effects, but I got a bit more information around the side effects of things like e-PrEP, which is, you know, what people would be using at the moment or what people would be more familiar with. And some of the common side effects don't really matter that much. Some of the serious side effects and risks include things like liver problems. So it says that liver problems can occur in people with or without a history of liver issues. So that means now you're on constant bloods, not only to monitor whether you've contracted the disease or not, but also, you know, for your liver function. And then one of the other big ones then is resistance to medication in the event that you ever contract the disease in some shape or form. You might have developed a resistance to so ungahlaba namuhla next month kushaye uthi uyathi medication ithi angikho lapha ndizi. So like you could develop that. And obviously there's interactions with other medications. So if you're someone that has multiple illnesses and whatnot, they have to consider all of those things. So knowing those kind of side effects that it comes with, are you one of those people who are like, I'd rather pick my battles. I'd rather battle with liver disease than battle with this. You know, I'd rather battle with diabetes rather than battle with this. Like, are you one of those who would I'd rather pick and choose? What would you do, Ray, knowing what you know now after saying yes to the injection? Like, so what side effects?
Lokho kunye ngiyakubona, like all kinds of medication all have all kinds of side effects, but the one that really gets me is the one resistance against like HIV medicine. Let's just say this thing doesn't work and I do happen to contract HIV in the future. Oh, God forbid, but let's say I do contract HIV in the future and then it just doesn't work. Medication doesn't work. All these efforts for nothing.
And the future can be tomorrow.
Exactly. You see what I
Oh,
mean? Like
wow.
I get so passionate about these things because I do a lot of research around
Mm.
HIV. I'm so serious about this kind of stuff. So I'm just really thinking, imagine like all these efforts and then to come down to getting it and then now not being able to at least, treat it. No, knowing what I know now, no way, I'm not taking it. No, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Let me right. I'll just continue the way that I'm doing now, just keeping safe. Yeah. But the
Yeah,
one
because that's
if
what
you
I
got,
was going to say next.
much
You could
rather,
you
no?
could just always just wear a condom, and that's
You could always
it's been
abstain.
proven to be effective. You can always abstain. Like there's
Yeah.
either less invasive things that you could do, but then if you go back and think of ama examples like the one that Kingus has made, where there's an accidental,
Now,
you know, experience where you do need that kind of protection, do you avail of it? Like, okay, Virtuous, what's your thoughts knowing what you know now about the side effects? Like, are you still taking it? Njoba vele ubusefensini wena.
Ungahlekile nje uvenze efensini.
Uyahle vele lo.
Buphansi.
What have you to say, Mr. Vitris?
Like I said, that we were made to take jabs with COVID, and the people that didn't take them, and they turned out perfectly fine. So I'm a bit skeptical with some of these pharmaceutical companies when it comes to some of these things that they're making for us, because I don't think they make them in the goodness of, oh yeah, we're trying to change the world, but we're trying to make money from everybody. Because my thing is, do we take it once?
I know that's what the internet says.
Virtuous.
I know that's what the
Nah.
internet wants to push, but
Me, I'm a big advocate for vaccines, guys. Have you ever seen abantwana labana ababe affected izinto ezifana labo polio and measles and all of that?
really sad.
The lasting
really sad,
effects
yeah.
of all those things. Ubusuzbuza ukuthi they had access to, things like ama vaccines to prevent or to protect them from those kind of things.
No,
I'm also pro-vaccine.
I'm pro vaccines, but to a certain extent, because my question then lies down to, guys, we have isn't about cancer, we've got things like high blood pressure, we've got things like diabetes. Don't you think we are pretty smart enough to come up with cures that could end these chronic diseases that we have? But
why don't you do it?
pharmaceuticals would rather.
If we're so smart, why don't you do it?
Wait, you can't
I don't think
I'm
it's
not
as
smart
easy
enough
as
to
we
do
think,
it.
though.
And also some things are
it's
down to
not.
lifestyle choices, Virtuous. You can prevent diabetes by eating less sugar, by changing certain things with lifestyle.
Guys, but I try to understand where I'm coming from. Whereby I think we've got a technology that's advanced enough. We've got so many resources ukuthi sesingakwazi ukuntshintsha situations esihlangana nazo. But unfortunately, remember, they're in the business of making money. I am very much sure and confident ukuthi sesingayenza i-medication yokuthi ezinye izinto that we suffer from, ungathatha certain medication kahle kuphele kube yidu ungasabi lakho. But because pharmaceuticals are in the business of making money, they'll never do that.
They
would have taken away.
when they
would have taken. But I need you to linga. But the question is Acosta how much? Is it available to the African continent?
Yeah,
because yes, Europe for me, but is it available to the African continent? Because we know the biggest population yabantu HIV and AIDS is in Africa. So is it going to be available in Africa? Is it also going to be affordable for abantu abanjani that actually need these things? Because remember, ezinye izinto yes zizaba khona, but ingabuya kuthiwa it's going to cost $5,000.
But this
then
is it,
who's going to afford it?
Wait, this is the thing, right? So, for example, this company that's producing this HIV injectable, right? I've just come to find out Canada, it was actually approved in 2024. So they've already been sebekhe basitrialela ngobhari bangale. Sebetrialile ngale. Right now it's in the EU. The EU has approved it. But this company that's obviously driving, I think it's Gilead. It's an Irish pharmaceutical company that's progressing medication. One of their main aims is to distribute this largely to countries that are known to be poorer, you know.
To what expense? What are they gaining in the process? That's the question.
Bruh, it's like you asking what are they gaining from abantwana behlabi chicken pox, le measles, lan. You're gaining a healthier society. Like you're gaining. Do you know what I mean?
Guys, emhlabeni where people don't just do things for the sake of doing things.
Yeah,
Jeff Bezos, labo Bill
guys,
Gates, babizwa ngama-philanthropist, but guys,
it's nothing to do with this though, man, virtuous, because this is nothing, man, because but virtuous, it's self-interest. Vaccination is about self-interest. As much as it seems objectively, we're just trying to, it's about protecting other people. It's actually about protecting yourself too. Because if other people don't have the ability to transmit said illness, that means you also have lower chances of getting it. So it's in your interest to ensure that everybody's.
As you may or may not know, there's a legal dispute of pension payouts. This is based on the story Vice President was South Africa, Didi Mabuza. So he passed away and left behind a pension fund, 44 million rand. And now Gulomtanake, who then has demanded to say, hey, ubaba ube and support lo mama 40,000 rands a month for a living expense, and udemanda a further 127,990 rands for tuition fees for university. And apparently, so with this whole story unfolding, apparently, ule side chick or ule that family member okade uyipha imali, maybe you send them money every month, maybe be it 1,000 rand or 3,000 rands for their upkeep, they are entitled to your pension fund because basically, in hindsight, that means they were a dependent. How do you feel about that?
Is so the question about uti alimony should continue, or whether we're calling it alimony or upkeep maintenance should continue to the other partner or the other party beyond this person's death? Like they should be part of the inheritance?
Yeah, or even
that's how it sounds.
Even they are entitled to say, hey, let's say I'm in a relationship with Caffeinated and we break up, and I can go to court and say, hey, Caffeinated used to send me $1,000 every month.
Nothing involved, isn't like we've just broken up.
Exactly.
So long as there's
basically by law, I was your dependent, and I can prove that using my bank statements. So I'm entitled to claim money from you to say, hey, I was a dependent from you. Money that you used to send, I used to cover my rent. I used to do this.
Quick check, virtuous, right? Now, are we talking about this as in Wuti, this is current legislation, this is current law, or are we saying Wuti, should it be legislated? What are we saying?
Because I know apparently, from my understanding, this is current law. This is how
I don't think it is. I think it's being misinterpreted, or it's not being understood correctly. Now, again, I stand to be corrected, right? But from how I know it and how it stands at the moment, right, is Wuti, if you have been cohabiting with a person for a minimum period of 6 months, and say there's a child involved or whatever, and you break up, and I think there's conditions, obviously it's conditional, then that person is entitled to claim child maintenance and also claim alimony, if that's what we'd call it, right? The primary condition being Oguti, you had been cohabiting for a minimum of 6 months. And I think Zim is doing the same as well. I don't know whether it's 6 months or if it's 2 years, cohabiting period, young corn. But if it's in the absence of a child, I don't think that would make sense. And I don't actively think ukuthi that's, that's law or that's, enforceable. Ngoba, if it is, it means ukuthi phela in every other breakup, in every other relationship that you've been in, you can claim, or you have the right to claim a maintenance from someone because they've been giving you something. That's what it would mean. It would open it up to that.
Technically, that's what it means. The fact that
no, there's no way. There's no way the law could be that flawed.
I've been in a relationship with you for 2 years, and you've been constantly. I've got bank statements to prove that you've constantly sent me €1,000 every month. I am therefore entitled to say, "Hey, caffeinated."
On what grounds, though? Do they
And it
take
has
into
to be like-
consideration
But
as
this
to
is the
how the
thing,
breakup or when the breakup happened?
Kim, I have a question because I do think maybe there might be some missing nuance here. I know in other countries they recognize cohabitation in the context of like registered partnership, where it's like you're not married. Yes, you are dating in the context in terms of social labeling of your relationship. You're dating, or that's your boyfriend or that's your girlfriend. But when you start merging certain aspects of financial lives together, let's say you live in the same house and you're paying bills together, whatever, there are some jurisdictions that actually acknowledge and that relationship almost in the same way that they would a marriage legally, for the purposes that you've already merged your finances together, you live under the same roof, so they will govern some of that together. So you can live in a registered partnership and be able to get the same benefits as a married couple, even down to like taxes and all of that, for example, just because you haven't actually
I have the
signed
answers
on,
now.
even if you don't have kids. That's so I don't know if this needs to be a registered partnership, or is it just you just met a guy at the bar on Saturday, now it's 6 months later, maybe he's been giving you money for your nails. Are you supposed to now keep, you know what I'm saying?
So now for life, you have an entitlement to claim money for nails?
To a nail, you know what I mean? That's what I'm wondering.
I've got an answer for you though, Virtuous. There's no specific time period that legally defines cohabitation in South Africa. As South African law does not recognize cohabitation as a legal relationship in itself, regardless of its duration, right? Unlike a marriage, living together for any length of time, such as 6 months or several years, does not automatically grant cohabiting partners the same legal rights or duties as married couples. Instead, cohabitation describes a stable, long-term, and monogamous relationship where an unmarried couple lives together as spouses, and legal rights or obligations must be established through other means, such as a written cohabitation agreement or a universal partnership, which is what Uking has said. So the key aspects
are out the window.
Obviously, there has to be an agreement. Honestly, there has to be an agreement. And so what we're saying, are we saying that if by any chance there's even just a month that was missed, it means damage done?
As I'm supporter.
So there's this thing like that happened. It's also in modern history, right? Around dolphin-assisted birth. Do you guys know anything about this before I go into it? It's kind of like wildly like fascinating.
No, I don't. Tell us more.
No. Okay, so basically there are people currently alive on this earth who were born through dolphin-assisted births, which basically
Excuse me?
at the point where the mother was, I know, so when the mother was pregnant, it's a constant level of like WTF with every stage of the story, but stick with me, I'm sorry. So basically there was, I know, there was this woman who was pregnant, right? This one time. So this is how this even kind of came to us. But I think it's like 1979 or something like that, 1980. So it's relatively modern, like it's in our modern history. And she was pregnant and she went into the sea, and then she started to she was going into labor. And then 3 dolphins came past. Obviously, like people are trying to help out and whatever. And then 3 dolphins come in, like obviously rushing into the mix of all of it. They're trying to get involved. And dolphins, they're known to have sonar. So they have ability of sonar. They can hear ultrasound. Do you know, like that thing when pregnant women go to the doctor and then they get an
Yes,
ultrasound
I've heard
machine to
about
see
that. Yeah.
the heartbeat, whatever. So dolphins have the ability to hear ultrasound waves. Anyway, they're the only mammal, I believe, that have the ability to hear ultrasound waves. So they're said to have sonar, that ability to hear that. So they can tell when a person is pregnant. In most cases, they can tell when someone is pregnant before that person even knows that they're
It
pregnant.
starts showing.
You can see, yeah. So you can see like Uma videos sometimes when people go to like dolphin sanctuaries where they want to swim with dolphins or like ride a dolphin. A lot of dolphins will say no, and a lot of people have found out through that they were pregnant because the dolphin refused to actually give them a ride. So anyway, long story short, this woman is about to give birth and she's in the water in the sea. These dolphins come through, and then what happened in this moment, this is how people discovered that this is even something that's possible, is that these dolphins scanned her, so like they scanned her body up and down with sonar, and they have the ability to manipulate ama ultrasound waves. So these are the same waves that tell you the livelihood of your baby and how well your baby's doing. So they manipulated this energy in the water, this ultrasound waves, to the point where this woman was able to give birth very quickly and pain-free. She felt absolutely no pain. That's the thing.
Where were these dolphins when I gave birth? Huh?
Yeah, so then now
they can do that?
Yeah. So this is the wild thing. First of all, dolphins, I think they're called angels of the sea or something like that, because dolphins have the dolphins are kind of wild. They also have a lot of like almost similar human-like tendencies and a lot of things. Even when you say like dolphin fetuses, they look a lot like actual babies. A lot of time people can't actually tell a dolphin fetus versus a human fetus. Yeah. So anyway, what then happened is that there's this midwife, there's this Russian midwife who started actually doing dolphin-assisted births after that, who used to like get women to come in who wanted to give birth, and when they're going through through labor, they would then give birth in the presence of a dolphin. So they were all water births for obvious reasons. His name was Igor Tchaikovsky. Okay, there you go. So Igor Tchaikovsky, he was a pioneer, basically, or Russian pioneer researcher on these dolphin-assisted births. So he basically created like a sanctuary, so to speak, where women could come in and give birth through this process. And what they found is all the kids that were born in this manner through these dolphin-assisted births were not only very, very, very mentally gifted, like they were very, very gifted, they were smart beyond like a lot of them apparently got like scholarships to like the likes of Harvard, a lot of like Ivy League schools, and they were also physically much, much stronger. They were more physically gifted than anybody else. So it became like a thing where like the government started to kind of find like, how this is weird. And there was actually like a center, a birthing center in Hawaii, which was specifically for dolphin-assisted birth. So a lot of people were booking these to take trips to go to the center to give birth because, this idea, which is obviously appealing for a lot of women, to give birth pain-free and, quickly and pain-free.
Pain-free. So, like it will take that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Forget to go assisted by what? Pain-free. Yeah, sign me up.
So a lot of people wanted to go. And then that's how they then started to do like research over time and found out that these kids were like physically and also mentally gifted. And what then would also happen, further research showed at the point where the child was born or would go through the birth canal. Sorry for a lot of guys, because this is actually so interesting though. But when they would go through the birth canal, a lot of what's supposed to happen, apparently, is at a spiritual level, like there's supposed to be a distortion of your existence before birth and after birth. That's why babies are apparently born like crying and in the state of confusion, because the environment is disturbed in some way, right? Like they were comfortable, and then now all of a sudden now you're a person. And apparently what would happen is at the moment that the kids were being born, the dolphins that were there would always emit a particular wave at that point of birth that a lot of those kids were actually aware of their existence before going through the birth canal. They could remember when they were still in their mother's womb, and they could vividly describe what the entire process of being born was like. And then a lot of government, because then institutions shut that down. They were like, no, we can't have this, because people are not supposed to be aware of the process of their existence of coming into life that's why it's supposed to be like that. And also a lot of these kids were now being born with all these extra powers that nobody really understood and nobody could, yeah. And it turns out that's because dolphins were aware of what was happening in that moment. And because of this whole thing of calming down that whole entire process, a lot of these women were basically being put into a trance because they can't feel the pain. And they were basically, yes, it's a really weird thing. But then also
It's a
dolphins are
lot.
serial killers, by the way. They're capable of being serial killers. It's true. Dolphins have been known to be serial killers.
Why the Niloxanine is it not practicing anymore? What happened? Why is it closed now?
They closed it because they said it's just too dysfunctional to have all these humans being born aware of their process of being born. And these kids are so smart and they have way too many physical abilities than any ordinary human being, and nobody could understand why that was. And they didn't like that. It's apparently like a thing where a lot of people say that there's a conspiracy that a lot of governments were afraid that these kids would be a threat to the way the current institutions are set up, because they understood why things would be the way that they are. And a lot of us get rewired at birth, and they were not. I don't know what the whole like story around that particular phenomenon is, but that's basically like, yeah, what happened. So I just wanted to know, what do you guys think about dolphin-assisted births? And if you could have these dolphin-assisted births where there's like reduced pain, reduced stress, no anxiety during labor, like you're super relaxed. And apparently it also used to improve bonding between the baby and the mother. I don't know what. Anyway, long story short, would you do it? Because low-key, I would.
You would have sold me it pain-free, but I don't know. There's just something dodgy about it, man.
Oh, the fact that the kids are smart and they're getting this scholarship, that's so to me, it's quite interesting. And well, I'd love to actually see and actually read up more about that. It's quite interesting.
I'm puzzled.
And I need 5 business days to go in and actually down that rabbit hole again and be like, what?
Yeah.
Because now I'm reading this shit and going like, hey, no winning. Hey.
It is such a
Ray
crazy
says,
rabbit
where was
hole.
I when where was all this when I was giving birth?
Can you
Yeah, because
imagine?
pain-free, anything but the pain. Okunye lokho ngiyabona but the pain, guys. Hi.
Is there like a documentary or a movie we can watch?
Hold
I
on,
think
let
I'm
me
also
see.
better
Yeah,
attention
yeah.
span, peanut.
That would be interesting and entertaining, actually.
The one day I actually decided to have some decorum and actually speak as enthusiastic sense. You guys come blazing at me. Next week, I am back to being a Long Island. And I'm